was just calling me on it, like, girl, that is ridiculous, but I love you. So looking at prayer in these ways, looking at motherhood, remembering us as kids, I'm going to shift into an area that maybe you resonate deeply with, or maybe it's kind of foreign. Full disclosure, I did not resonate deeply with this at first. My Bible actually ended at the Johns. I didn't even go into Revelation because I'm like, oh, no. I can't go there. But maybe we don't dedicate a whole lot of mind space to it, but it doesn't mean it isn't so. So let's pause for a moment and just think. Motherhood, it's messy. And that is outside of this area of fostering and adoption. You add that into the mix, y'all, and it is extra layers. And I don't know if you're like me, but I have felt woefully unprepared a lot of the time. And it hits us in different ways. Maybe it's undiagnosed special needs. Maybe it's attachment issues. Maybe it's just not having full medical history or any background history at all. These surprises, there's bigger things. It can mess a mama up. It can impact you. It can impact your kid. And it can impact a whole family. So no matter where you land spiritually on the whole God thing, if you are like, this is brand new information, if you're skeptical, or if you are like all in, I want you to camp with me here for a minute as we think about the battle for our children's hearts. Some of us hit it once we entered the space the Bible kind of calls orphan care. It is holy and it is ordained, but it isn't really understood. And maybe you felt that when you were kind of sharing your excitement of, I'm going to go foster and I'm going to go adopt, and people were not as thrilled as you hoped they would be. Or maybe family wasn't as on board and ready to support you. It was lukewarm at best. For some of us, the heart dream of knowing that we were called into this, the hope of our hearts, starting this journey, and it took a long time. Maybe you're still waiting. The Bible says that hope deferred makes the heart sick. And heart sick is a battle of its own. It really was for me. We live in a fallen world, and there's free will. It's one of God's greatest gifts to us and to our kids. And I will tell you right now, if I were God, you would all bow down at like noon every day, and I would be completely okay with that because I don't understand how he handles us all going off in different directions, because I've got 4 little ones, and when they all go off in different directions and they're not on mama's plan, it gets kind of ugly. So some of this ugly stuff that we face could be poor choices. It could just be the self-will of another, just living here in this world. But given the fact that our collective moral compass always points to the appropriate and away from the atrocious, when you get hit upside the head by atrocity, when the kids that we're fighting for, fighting to get home, fighting to help heal, fighting to help accept us as family, when that hits you and you're waiting for God to move in the situation, to fix it, to part the sea, and you know he can, and he doesn't, kind of like, then what? And I've had to learn again and again, his plan is good. It's way better than my plan. And so I have to reframe how I see myself, how I see the world, how I see my motherhood. I had to learn how to quit praying as a victim, and I had to start praying victoriously. Track with me here. I get that I don't pose like this very, imposing figure in the natural. But after mommying for years, about a decade of mommying and 15 years of trying to piece my family together, what I've learned is this: you come at my kids, I come at you with my king. In Ephesians 6, Paul talks about putting on the full armor of God. I learned this verse at Bible camp when I was about 12, which I'm realizing right now is apparently very fundamental in my life. they had us read about the full armor of God, and every cabin was given a different verse to depict using only things found in the cabin. We had about 2 hours, and then they would walk around and judge. So me and all of my preteen girlfriends got together, had a brilliant epiphany, and we created not the breastplate of righteousness, but the training bra of righteousness. Yeah, right out there outside the cabin, and we won for creativity. Honestly, still kind of proud about that. But what was taught in fun and in great laughter during that sleepaway camp so many years ago is still true today. I've actually heard this term, maybe you've heard it, spiritual warfare. Sounds so scary. I had it explained to me once as germs. Maybe you can't see them. Maybe you don't even really know what you're looking for. Maybe you don't even want to believe it. Like, oh, he just sneezed all over me. I am not going to catch that. I am okay. But our lack of knowledge, our refusal to admit that it is so, does not make us immune. In fact, it probably makes us more likely to succumb to attack. So to guard ourselves, to guard our kids, we have to clothe ourselves in battle gear. Because there is a real enemy, and he has a real plan. But we have the most powerful of weapons. If you're anything like me and the idea of a strategic and secret battle plan against the kids you love, it feels kind of terrifying. Reflect on your past, on the broken and the ugly places that you've been, and when you've walked out into the light, you have probably been under attack too. Now, as a mother to many, I look at my family and I realize family for me has never been an easy get. But God's seen it all. He's walked through it all. He has seen the battles that I have faced. First as a mama, and then a couple years ago on mission in a couple different counties where I literally came face to face with the Modern Orphan. And then now as a ministry leader alongside my husband, where we have developed an orphan care ministry, connecting strategic prayer with orphan care. Y'all, I have this idea, it's thesis, if you will, that the modern orphan is spiritually opposed. And maybe you felt that too. When family members ask why you don't have your own kids, when you just fight to get them home, and you just wonder, when will we connect? How will we get through it? How will we finance this whole thing? All of these things that you have bumped up against. When neighbors offer horror stories about placements, offered less as a gift and more as gossip. When you find out about a child half a world away, that kid is in the world and you cannot get there because you have to wait for travel approval. Battle. When you know that child is here and you're wondering, are they hurting? Do they need me? Are they okay? That's a war. My theory is that these kids we're talking about right now, my kids and your kids, these are children with a kingdom calling on their lives, or why else in the world would the enemy be attacking? Sometimes from the womb. So let's just pause here for a minute and let that idea kind of sink in. Let it pour into us, because if that is true, there is always hope. And if we believe the Bible to be true, which I do, then Jeremiah 29:11 is true. Even in this space, even over those kind of circumstances, that God has good plans.